Well, thank you very much for joining me in this video. You know, there's been a lot of pressure on the government to do something to help first-time buyers, especially, get into the housing market. And one of the things that was rolled out, you've heard a lot about it, is a rebate on the HST on new home construction. And there's a lot of confusion about that. And the reason the confusion is because it's changed. Up until very, very recently, it was a hybrid program between the federal and the provincial government that involved some rebate of HST and some rebate of GST component up to a certain amount. That's all been changed. Effective April 1st, there's a program rolled out specifically out of the provincial government, and it involves the purchase of brand new construction, but it applies to everybody, not just first-time buyers. And what it is up to the purchase of $1 million, the HST is exempt or is rebated. So there's a rebate of $130,000 maximum, and it applies on homes up to $1 million. It's 13%, whatever the purchase price will be. Homes that are between $1 million and $1.5 million, the HST will apply above $1 million, but the rebate will continue to apply, being $130,000. Once properties go beyond $1.5 million, that amount of rebate is reduced down to, when you hit $1.85 million, it's all the way down to a $24,000 rebate. And I understand their philosophy. Certainly in Toronto, it's very difficult to get into the housing market under $1 million. And as you look at prices across the country, you look at prices in some provinces and some cities where $700,000 or $800,000 is almost the norm. So putting the ceiling on of $1 million makes sense. By the same token, let it ride to $1.5 million, and they feel that once you're over $1.5 million, you can probably afford the HST. And the idea is that certainly the land is a certain fixed component. You can buy a lot of bricks and mortar for the other $500,000, $600,000, right up to $1.85 million. So that's the program. It came into effect April the 1st, and it lasts for exactly 1 year till March the 31st of next year. There's other programs that are involved as well. I want to just cover them with you. Some of them you may be aware of. Some of them have been tweaked a little bit, but there's some help on a number of fronts, especially for first-time buyers. There's the First Home Savings Account, FHSA, and it allows annual contributions of up to $8,000 for an individual and a lifetime contribution total of $40,000. It is tax deductible, so the amount you contribute is tax deductible in the year you contribute, just like an RSP. And you can withdraw it, but unlike an RSP, when you withdraw it, there's no tax payable and there's no repayment requirement. So it isn't where you're borrowing against the FHSA. You are saving, writing it off for taxes, taking it out, using against the purchase of a property. Pretty good program. Then there's the RSP Home Buyer Program, and unlike the FHSA, here you're saving it, you're writing it off, but you're borrowing against it when you buy a house. Individual withdrawal limit, regardless of how large your RSP is $60,000. So a couple, they can borrow from their RSP up to $120,000, and they got 15 years to repay it back to their RSP. They don't pay any interest on that loan from the RSP. And something new, effective this year, is they've got a 2-year grace period before they have to start making repayments. So that gives them a little bit of while to get adjusted to the new house that they've purchased. Then there's first-time home buyer incentive. This isn't brand new, but be careful of this. Here the government contributes 5% on resale homes or 10% on new construction. There's no monthly payment required. Repayment is based on the property value at the time of the sale of the property or refinancing of it. And what you got to think about is it's really like entering into a co-purchase agreement with the government where they have a 5 or 10% interest ownership in the property. And if you make a profit, they share in that profit to a maximum of what they've put in, 8% a year. So they can lose and you can write it off as a loss of 8% a year, or they can earn up to 8% a year. They're your partner. That's the first-time home buyers incentive. But there's also a land transfer tax rebate for first-time buyers, up to a maximum of $4,000, or available on homes up to $368,333, and partial rebates above that price. It's got to be used as your principal residence, and you've got to reside in it for at least 1 year. Also, CMHC, couple of little changes there. If you're buying new construction, you can amortize that loan now up to a total of 30 years, whereas on resale property, the ceiling is 25 years. The minimum down payment is 5% on the first $500,000 and 10% on any amounts above $500,000. Then there's something called the Regional Support Welcome Home Niagara Program. Maybe you haven't been aware of this one. It's an interest-free loan up to 10% of the purchase price to a maximum loan of $66,744. To qualify, you must be a current resident of the Niagara region. You've got to be at least 18 years old. You've got to be renting or at least a first-time buyer. So you could be living at home and qualify, but you can't own a house. You can't own another property. In other words, you can't own a rental property and be buying it, or own a residential property and be buying a rental property. You won't qualify for that. You've got to qualify for a mortgage through a regular, recognized lender, and you've got to meet other income and asset limits. So those are some of the programs that are available. I think the government's working hard at trying to help young couples get into homes, get into their first-time homes. There's some things that will impact us. Certainly, when you're dealing with new construction, you've got a lot of builders sitting on inventory or sitting on land, and they're wanting to build, and they need to free up that market. It would be great if they got rid of the impost fees and the land dedication and all these other things that compound to increase the price of a new home. But bear in mind, the lower the new home price gets, the lower or the more downward pressure there'll be on resale homes. We can't get to it, it won't work. We get to a position where new homes are cheaper than resale. It just doesn't work that way. So there will be some downward pressure. But it's certainly a move in the right direction to help free up some new construction. I know some builders that are hurting, sitting on inventory, and it will help people get into the housing market. Hope that makes sense. Covered a lot of ground. Thank you for watching. Talk to you again next week.